Good morning, everybody. I appreciate you showing up here on this Tuesday morning, the last Tuesday of March. I've got Mr. Brian Franklin with me this morning, who's going to spend some time talking about the work that we're doing in our fine arts department. So I'm excited for you all to hear from him. I did want to begin today just by acknowledging the events that happened yesterday in Nashville and the sort of unspeakable tragedy there. I know that every member of our school community is shaken by events like this, in part because of the profound dissonance between that kind of violence that can happen in a school and the fact that these spaces exist for human flourishing. They exist to help young people become most fully themselves. Our approach here at ACA after events like this is to continue on. We don't speak to our students directly about it, but our counselors, our teachers are attentive and sensitive to the needs of any student who might be in need of comfort or support. I also just briefly wanted to review some of the very practical steps that we've taken as a school in the last 7-8 months to maximize the security of our own campus. I thought that this sort of update would be important to share. So a couple of very practical items here that I want to move through quickly. The first thing that we've done on campus over the last few months is install a night lock system. This is an industrial strength lock that anchors every one of our classroom doors, every space on campus, directly into the concrete floor to make doors very difficult to access. We've obviously hired a school resource officer for the very first time. Officer Price joined us early this fall and has been on campus, her or another member of the Atlanta Public Schools Police Department every day since the start of the school year. We've been working as a faculty to sort of improve our training around ensuring that every door on campus is closed. In fact, administrators get alarms on their phones whenever a door is left open. And so we can go directly to it to make sure that the campus is secure. We use a emergency crisis management application called Ruvna, which is a software that allows for any employee on campus to send an alert or to put the campus into lockdown at any moment. This is something that teachers have a lot of experience using. It's something that we train on very consistently. And then sort of to talk a little bit more about training, we, of course, as is sort of mandated by Atlanta Public Schools, are doing lockdown drills with some consistency. We brought in police officers from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and the Atlanta Police Department this summer to do training with our teachers. We have run live simulations in the past, and these, of course, are not things that teachers sign up for as a kind of inherent part of the profession. And yet I think it's our belief that we have a responsibility to keep every one of your children safe. And it's a responsibility that we take tremendously seriously, that moves us to train and to ensure that we're doing everything that we can to keep our campus safe and secure, to make learning possible, right? We exist to learn what is true, to do what is good, and love what is beautiful. That will always be our final ambition at Atlanta Classical. And we know that for that to be possible, our campus must be secure. I think the final thing that I should note here about creating a safe campus is nurturing relationships. This is a thing that we've believed in since our founding at Atlanta Classical, that the best way to create an environment where students feel safe to exist, safe to speak in class, safe to speak to teachers or administrators, is that we know our students and we seek to know them personally and to ensure that they know that they are loved. We think this is the best way to secure any space. So know that we remain committed to this. Our counselor, Dr. Jordan, our nurse, Nurse Holland, other members of that team are going to be especially attentive over the next few days. But again, I wanted to begin today just by reviewing some of those sort of direct steps that we've taken to create a safe and secure space. Certainly, if you have questions about this, I'm open to answering them. I know that our director of operations, who is largely charged with managing the safety of the campus, Mr. David Rosenzweig, is always open to your questions, your calls as well. All right, I'm going to share my screen here and get into our usual programming. All right, today, again, I'm going to review our fine arts department, the work that they've done. Mr. Franklin will lead this part of the call, and then also talk a little bit about our teacher professional development program that we have here on campus. First, a couple highlights from the last week. Our 5th and 11th graders took a combined field trip last week to Chickamauga Battlefield. This is one of my favorite events of the school year. I love that at Atlanta Classical, 11, 12-year-old kids can go with 16 and 17-year-old students on a field trip together. I was talking to Mr. Holt, whose photo you can see here as he, surveys the valley looking over Chattanooga. How these little mentorships sort of spring up organically between the high school students and the lower school students who kind of naturally idolize them. And so it's really a kind of beautiful expression of our K-12 community that we're able to run some trips together. You, of course, see Dr. Roth prominently featured in 2 of these photos, dressed in his Civil War wear. He is one of the most excited participants in this trip each year, and of course participates in reenactments, and so has amazing stories to share with our students, and almost an encyclopedic knowledge of the particular conflict at Chickamauga. So anyway, this was an event that happened last week, and a thing that happens every year here at ACA. Also, a big highlight from last week was the father-daughter dance. I think that we had close to 300 people in the gym. This was massively successful. You see on the bottom left, one of our participants from the limbo competition, Mr. Holt and Mr. Nugent were very enthusiastic DJs for the event. I think in general, one of the sort of greatest advances that we've made as a community in the last calendar year is the strength of our DADS program. We've had more dads on campus this year than I can remember. And whether it's participating in these dances, helping out with carpool or in the lunchroom, it's been amazing to have the engagement of our full community here at Atlanta Classical. And this dance is a kind of celebration of that. So this was a wonderful occasion. All right, I want to talk briefly about professional development at ACA, just to give you all a little perspective on the training that we're doing with our teachers during the school year and then over the summer as well. I think that you all would find it interesting to know how we continue to sort of nurture and support the intellectual development of our teaching faculty. And in fact, in this season of interviewing and hiring for new positions, one of the questions that I get most frequently is, what systems do you have in place to support teachers, and how are you continuing to kind of improve them in their work? And so I wanted to just run through this all with you. We've got a few great pictures here on the far right of your screen. You'll see our trivia winning team from summer training that happened or that happens every year in June at Hillsdale. Every school in the Barney Charter School Initiative Network convenes on Hillsdale over the summer. One of the biggest events in the evening is a trivia competition. ACA has won multiple years in a row. So you'll see members of the upper school faculty and Mr. Sheps looking very proud. But this is one of our core offerings. I'll run through these. We divide these up into 3 tiers. There are some professional development opportunities that are available to teachers immediately upon their employment, some things that are available as they sort of progress in their time at ACA. The things that we offer to teachers the moment that they enter our space is, 1, free training at Hillsdale every summer. So this is where we send our faculty to Michigan, and there is a large gathering of classical schools and trainers from across the country come and give training on sort of the particulars of our curriculum, whether that is literacy essentials in the lower school or Singapore math, or our approach to Latin or the senior thesis project. There are sessions on literally every single part of our classical curriculum here at ACA. And so we've found these trainings to be massively beneficial to our team. So this is something that happens right when you are first employed. In addition to this, our teachers are getting weekly in-house training on Singapore math and literacy essentials. Again, these are the 2 most complex and arguably most important elements of our lower school curriculum. We support our teachers who attend AP summer institutes for those AP classes that we offer, like calculus, chemistry, biology, Latin. We furnish each of our teachers with a personal book budget to encourage them to continue to read both during the school year and over the summer. Our classical speaker series, we've brought in Anika Prather, Francis Su, right, one of the sort of preeminent mathematicians in the country, and he did trainings with our teachers over the course of, or rather earlier this school year, did sort of one-on-one sessions with them, observed classes, and then ran a few trainings just with members of the math department. These are all things that we're doing for our teachers the moment that they start here. One item that I haven't mentioned that really has become a point of focus, and I've mentioned it a couple times in this call, is that we've really begun to cultivate a kind of habit of observation and coaching at ACA. We set the goal at the beginning of the year of observing each of our teachers at least 8 times, and we are on track to kind of far exceed that goal. We have teachers that we've observed close to 20 times this school year. And I think for folks that are veterans in the profession, there is a little bit of resistance to this at times. There's a sense of having your space invaded. And certainly we are really careful about ensuring that teachers know that the classroom is their domain. But we also think that as a school, we need to be very serious about being excellent in teaching and learning. This is a thing that we are committing to be the very best at. And so we want to cultivate an environment where teachers are welcoming administrators and even other teachers into their classrooms to give them feedback on what they're doing. And so we've seen real gains in just the quality of instruction on campus as a consequence of this culture of coaching that we're beginning to implement. That's probably one of the most significant components of professional development. In addition, after teachers have been at ACA for a couple of years, we give them the opportunity to pursue advanced certifications that are funded by the school, and also to attend summer seminars through institutions like the Folger Shakespeare Library. We had a teacher attend a summer Latin camp where they spoke only Latin, and we're happy to be able to fund those efforts. And then finally, after teachers been here for 3 years of successful employment, we're able to support teachers in their pursuit of graduate degrees. And in fact, this is one of the things that we're going to be able to sort of orient our general fund dollars toward, is supporting our teachers in their continued education. We've got 3 teachers right now that are earning master's degrees in classical education directly. And this is just a massive incentive for really talented faculty members to stay at a place like ACA, to know that they're going to have training like this available to them. So we're happy to be able to offer it. All right, it's been a little while since I've gone through the Legenda with all of you, and so I wanted to take a moment here and just quickly, let's see here, share the Legenda to make sure that you all know of sort of major happenings here at ACA. This is last week's Legenda, so some of these items are older. You'll notice here, of course, the field trip and the Dad's Day event that happened on Friday. But a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. April 15th, we have a family science festival at ACA. We're calling this Wonderfest, and our science teachers have put a lot of work into this. I'm excited to see the final product, but I hope that you'll mark your calendars and prioritize attending. On April 29th, we have our middle school spring dance, which is available to all students grades 6 through 8, and it's going to be put on by House Damascus, the theme being Enchanted Forest. Another thing that is worth noting here is that each of these community calls is now being recorded, and we're uploading the prior week to the Legenda, so that those that aren't able to make an 8:30 a.m. call can actually view it in the week to follow. A couple other just important dates. May 20th is going to be the date of ACA's graduation at First Presbyterian Church of Atlanta at 10 a.m. This is the same space that we used last year. It is kind of perfectly suited for our needs. And so I know that there are limited tickets available. Certainly you can contact Mr. Sheps if you are interested in attending and don't have a senior. We want that space to be very full. We, of course, want to prioritize attendance for our families and those that are connected directly to our seniors, but we also want to open the opportunity to those of you that are interested in attending as it's possible. So certainly feel free to reach out to him as you're interested. Final thing I just want to note, this has been an amazing development in our lower school, our K and First Reading Challenge. If you walk through the north hallway on the top floor where my office is, you'll see charts outside of every classroom that track just the amount of reading that each of our kindergarten and first grade students is doing. And there's a friendly competition among them. I love seeing efforts like this. I think that the best learning that oftentimes happens when students are doing it independently of their own volition. And so to know that our students are at home reading great books Granted, they're doing it to earn a pizza party at the end of the month, but still, I think the value is there, notwithstanding. All right, I'm gonna jump back to my previous slideshow here, and going to be turning things over here to Mr. Franklin shortly, but just a moment. All right. Mr. Franklin, I'm going to spotlight your screen, and you can go ahead and begin to talk us through this, this fine arts update. Oh, you got to unmute. Important step one.
I actually haven't done Zoom in a while, so that's a positive thing.
What a wonderful statement. Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Andrew. It's so great to see so many people here on this call. What a great call. It's been fantastic. I've enjoyed it. Today, we're just going to run through a little bit of a fine arts update, but I look forward to continuing to do this throughout next year and anytime Mr. Andrew invites me. I wanted to begin with just this brief quote because I think it really lends itself to why music and art is so critical to our curriculum here at Atlanta Classical. So this comes from the Plato's Republic. And there's a big a book that really talks about the importance of music and art in the development of a young person. And so the quote, as you can see on the screen, hence good speech, good harmony, good grace, and good rhythm accompany good disposition. Not the folly we endearingly call good disposition, but the understanding truly trained to a good and fair disposition. And I think that we can, for our language that we use here, ACA, take out disposition or change it and use felicitas or happiness or joy. And Mr. Holt one day in one of our choir classes said that our hope for our students is that we lead them to a joy that is not circumstantial, that's not based on just what is happening in the moment, but is an abiding joy, an abiding happiness. And as we look at a lot of the teachers that the classical education is built on, they had a strong belief that music and art is critical to the development of leading a student into a virtuous life, a student that is pointed toward a life filled with joy because of how it speaks to the soul before the mind is even able to reason. And so go ahead, Mr. Andrew, and hit that next slide for me. So this is why in our curriculum, this is where it all begins. I could stay on this slide for my whole time here. Everything that we do in our electives, everything that we do after school is based on what we're doing in the curriculum. The level at which we're able to do our electives and our after school program all stem from what we're doing in the curriculum. I think you can go around to any school here in our area, and you'll be hard pressed to find a school where students are receiving as much education and exposure to art and music as our students do. And yes, that creates a well-rounded student, but I think it goes even deeper than that and goes back to the quote that I shared at the beginning, that we're looking to help form our students to become virtuous citizens, to lead a joyful life. And so we have art and music as a key component of our curriculum, especially K through 8th grade. And so you can see some of the wonderful artwork that is being done here by our young students here. Go ahead, Mr. Andrew, we can hit the next one there. So we have a really growing after-school program. As many of you know, we offer a string program for 4th through 6th grade that occur after school. Once they hit 6th grade to 7th grade, they can begin to take strings as an elective. Piano studio is the same way. We have a very active piano studio. We have 8 sections with about 54 students involved in that, 1st through 6th grade. And they can also begin to take piano as an elective as well. And the way that we offer piano is really unique. It's in a group setting. So it takes piano that's usually can often be an isolated activity, kind of one-on-one with a teacher, and puts it into a group setting where it becomes a little bit more of a social activity, and they have engagement with their peers, and it's a really great process that we use. This year, through the leadership of Mrs. Holloway and Mrs. Wickstrom, we've relaunched our Creative Cavalier program, which is there's a second and third grade section, a fourth and fifth grade section, and a sixth through eighth grade section. And they're wrapping up their final session here in the next few weeks. So that's been a great new addition here for this year. Also, we've relaunched our fourth and fifth grade theater. They'll be doing Alice in Wonderland on May 21st. So you'll be seeing more about that in the Legenda. Many of you came and saw our first ever middle school musical production, Dear Edwina. It happened 2 weekends ago, and it was a great success. Really proud of our students. I thought they did a tremendous job. And I'm just really thankful that we're able to offer that to our middle school students. And coming up, our high school theater program will be doing Little Women, the musical, on April 28th and April 30th, a Friday and a Sunday. I have just been so impressed with their work, and I think it is going to be a fantastic production. Yesterday, if you're familiar with the story of Little Women, we did the scene where Beth has come ill and Joe has learned about that, and so we had quite a moving rehearsal yesterday, and it's just wonderful to get to work with young students and watch them as they're exploring these characters and these emotions, and just in a powerful way. It provides just a really unique opportunity as a teacher to really to work with students in that way. And then we've relaunched our dance ensemble. They had an audition 2 Saturdays ago, and so really excited to see our dance program coming back here to ACA. So we're hoping that will continue to grow into next year. Go ahead. And so I want to hit a couple of new additions. I'm really excited about these things that we have added. So we started this year a 3rd grade string program. And so through this program, almost all of our 3rd grade students will have the opportunity to try strings out. And so they are pulled out of their normal music class once a week and meet with our string teacher and just are learning the basics of the violin, so that they are exposed to that instrument and to how to play it, and maybe consider picking that up more seriously in 4th grade and beyond. As many of you know as well, we have 5th through 8th grade choirs. So 5th grade, I meet with them every other week. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I meet with them on Wednesdays. There's information coming out about those upcoming concerts that take place in May. Cav Choir is a new choir that we meet on Fridays. It's for all 9th and 10th grade students. Really excited. They're going to go on their first choir trip May 4th and 5th to Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're really excited about that. One of the programs, or one of the things that I'm really excited that we have added to our music curriculum is called Note Flight. And that's where your students get an opportunity to actually begin composing music. And so in both music and art, we want to give them a full experience, both appreciating music and art, creating music and art, and recreating in art other great works, and in music, performing great pieces of music. And then, as many of you know, now we have a graduation requirement that is a fine arts class. We call it a connections class. And that's a new class in our curriculum. So I'm really excited about that as we have that for our high school students. So I'm really excited about where our fine arts program is headed and the new things that we have added. But I want to stress again just how fortunate we are that our curriculum provides such an opportunity for our teachers to help build confidence in your students, with the skills needed. And I'll finish this with a quick story. I was thinking about this as Mr. Andrew was speaking. I was hiking Mount LeConte in Tennessee one day, and I got to the summit, and we were looking out over that beautiful view as we saw a similar picture with Mr. Holt. And there was a young lady there, and she was sketching in her book. And I just asked her if she was an artist or if she was an art student. And she said, no, I just have always had it as a hobby. It's just always something I've loved to do. I did art in high school, and everywhere I go, I take my sketchbook. And if I see something beautiful, I sketch it. And I said, what a perfect and beautiful vision of what we're trying to create here at ACA, that students just feel a naturalness and a confidence, that one way that they can express themselves, or one of the ways they can capture something beautiful that they are seeing, is through art. And so I'll leave you with that story. And that's what we're hoping to provide your student, is just a confidence and access to music and art to help them flourish, as Mr. Andrew said earlier in our call. Thank you, Mr. Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Franklin. That's a wonderful description of our work. All right, well, I will see you all in 2 weeks' time. I hope you have a lovely and safe spring break. Thanks for coming to the call today.